Which of these quantities doesn't change if we double the amplitude? Well, if we think about the time where the mass is at its maximum position and the spring is maximally stretched, at that location the kinetic energy drops to zero because the mass is turning around, and so the total energy at that instant of time is equal to 1/2 k a squared, where a is that maximum distance away from the equilibrium point. So this is the total energy because all of the energy at that point is spring potential energy. But that's the total energy. So the total energy will increase if we increase the amplitude. Then if we let that mass go, if we stretch it out this far and then we let it go, it will zoom through the equilibrium point, and so later on, when it's zooming through the equilibrium point and the spring is not stretched at that instant, all of the energy is kinetic energy. So that's going to be equal to 1/2 mv, and I'll say E, meaning the equilibrium point, squared. So the maximum speed, if the amplitude increases, that maximum speed is also going to increase. Now let's think about the acceleration. If the amplitude is bigger, then at that maximum point, the spring is going to be stretched more, and that spring force, which is equal to minus kx, that's also equal to the mass times the acceleration. So if the spring gets stretched more when the amplitude increases, then the force is going to get bigger and the acceleration at that point will increase. Finally, what about the period? Well, we saw previously that the expression for period is equal to 2 pi times the square root of m over k. So the period doesn't actually depend on the amplitude at all. It only depends on the amount of mass and the spring constant. So whether the spring gets stretched only a little bit and the oscillations are small, or if the spring gets stretched a lot and the oscillations are a lot bigger, if they're bigger, the mass will move faster for most of its oscillation motion, and it will keep the period the same. So of these things, the thing that doesn't change is the period.